Alright, I'm changing the drive belt on a 2009 model Bilt Bronco automatic transmission. The drive belt number, this was the last one at Lowe's. Might be becoming a hard item to get or an order item. So I've had to change this drive belt a couple of times, and it's real fun to do. So I'm going to walk you through I've already done some disassembly, so I'll explain what I've done so far. Alright, so the battery goes in this spot. There's a battery tray that sits down in here like so. After you take the battery out, you just squeeze both sides. You can pull this out. Alright, so the drive belt wraps around this pulley. It's a double grooved pulley. If you can see, there's one there. Let's see if I can focus that. And one on the bottom there. So there's two belts that go through. I believe the top one is the transmission belt, and then the bottom one is supposed to be the drive belt. You can see this one's pretty eat up. I don't know if you can see all down in there. There was a stick that jumped up in there, and as I was cutting the yard not too long ago, and just really boogered that belt up. But the belt's actually jumped up into the groove of the transmission belt, so it's going to be fun to get out. But you need some play in this pulley, and how you get that play or looseness, there are 3 10mm bolts off to the left side of the lawnmower. They're right in between the body and the wheel. And this is one, and I don't know if you can see that last one down there, but that's one, 10mm. So you loosen those up, and that'll give you some play. I think I may have to take them all the way out. We'll come back to that again in a minute. It's been some time since I've changed this. I've changed it probably 3 times since I've had it. What the symptom is if it doesn't break all at once, is that your acceleration pedal just you seem to have to keep pushing further and further down until eventually the belt's so stretched out it doesn't get any pull. And I'll show you what I mean by. So as you you see that belt moving, I'm pressing the gas pedal on the lawnmower. So it's supposed to tighten up the further you press the pedal down, like a car. And if it's a normal size belt, it'll engage, and then you'll move forward or backward or whatnot. So that's what I've done in that compartment so far. The next place is the mower deck. There is a threaded rod that comes through. I've already taken it out, but this threaded rod you see here, this brass looking colored threaded rod, it hooks to the front side of the mower deck. And if you can see that little bracket there. So it hooks up into there. There's some little grooves that it slides into. I can't get it there because I've got another piece here. I'll show you where I'm going to next. But then it slides through here, and this is what holds your mower deck level. Basically, there's a washer. It's kind of oblong, and the round side goes in toward the frame. And then there's 2 nuts that go on it and tighten it up. The second one just is an insurance to keep it leveled up. But what you basically want to do is, when you're tightening it back up, is I've already took the bracket off. So there's this metal bracket, if you can see, that I'm pointing to. It comes down in front of this pulley and goes across. So when you put that metal rod, this rod back in and tighten it up, you want this part to touch that metal bracket, and your lawnmower deck will be level at that point. Those two nuts are, I believe I'll tell you, they are a 19 millimeter. And you'll probably, I've got a deep well socket. I can't get to the second one when the nut's tightened all the way up because the threaded rod sticks out too far, so you might need an adjustable wrench as well to loosen that second nut up until you can get your socket on it. So the next thing I've done is, don't pay any attention to the breaker bar quite yet. So this metal rod I was telling you earlier, it goes across the front. I've removed a bolt and pushed it back, but you can see the little circular space that this bolt goes into. So this bolt goes straight up and comes through right beside the oil drain plug there on the frame. So you'll take that out and you can push it back, and then you can, it's just kind of pressured in on the other side. You might can pull it out, but I don't really need to. All right, so that brings us to where I'm at currently. So as you can see, I've got a pipe wrench on this this pulley shaft. So that, you see there's two pulleys there. This is the mower deck. This runs the blade. This belt runs the blade. And then the upper pulley, if you can see it there, you might not can see it. Let's see, there we go. If you can see that belt right at the top there, let's see if I can get my hand in there. There we go, that belt. That's your drive belt. But see, you can't get it out because of these tabs. And it runs back and goes in a little pattern. But what we have to do is we have to loosen this bolt up in this pulley, and it'll let this shaft drop some, getting it clear from those tabs so you can load the belt onto it. One of the problems though is as you're trying to turn the shaft, it also turns, so you'll need a pipe wrench or some other method of grabbing this center shaft here while you break the bolt loose from underneath. All right, I'm gonna put you on pause and we'll come back. All right, we're back. I've gotten the bolt loose. I just want y'all to see, this is a 16 millimeter bolt up in here. You see my pipe wrench there. All right, so that's how long the bolt is that comes out of there, 16 millimeter. And if you'll see, that kind of eased down a little bit, and you see that it clears the belt of those tabs. So see what I mean by, I'll back up a little bit. All right, so you pull that on down a little bit. Here's another fun aspect of this belt. It goes in behind these metal plates up under the lawnmower, if you can see it. See there's where it goes. And then it goes around those pulleys in that pattern back to the double-sided pulley that I showed you earlier. Back under the lawnmower, sorry, I'm trying to get some where you can see it, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to. Hopefully this helps. There it is. There it is. So that goes back to that double-sided pulley that the little transmission belt's on underneath the battery that's under the seat. So it comes up from there, goes in that pattern around the pulleys, goes under this metal plate, and then around that pulley. Alright, put you on pause and get a couple things ready. Come back. Alright guys, I had to go ahead and take these 10mm bolts that we talked about earlier that were in between the wheel, these three. Had to go ahead and take them all the way out. I can't remember if I took them all the way out last time, but the reason I needed to this time is, as I mentioned before, my drive belt jumped up into the groove of the transmission belt and they're stuck. So I needed some extra movement of this pulley to be able to get my drive belt out of there. So if you can see, like I said, they're in the same groove, so I'm gonna have to fight this belt off and then get my drive belt off right quick, and then we'll be on our way to putting the new one on, I believe. Alright, so it wasn't too bad. What I did is, this is again the transmission belt. It goes in this top groove. This is completely loose. These are the 3 bolts that we took out earlier between the wheel. But if you can see it on this side here that it has 2 spots for belts to ride in there. The top one is the transmission belt, which is this little one that goes on this big wheel and around up to that. And then the bottom one is for the drive belt that we're trying to change. So I've took both off, just enough to get the old, and I've pushed that old drive belt back through there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start feeding the new belt, hook it to in there in that bottom groove, and then get this belt back in the top groove and put those tabs back up to the holes where I can kind of start threading the bolts back in and give it some give it where it's holding back here while I thread through the other side a little bit, so I'm not fighting both sides at the same time. Put you on pause. Alright, that was a little bit of a booger to get back in there, but if you can see, I've got the pulley and the belts back on. So what you have to do is, if you see the screw, or the bolt, excuse me, the bolt sticking, let's see if I can get my finger. See these bolts right here? So those are the 3 bolts in between the frame there. So what you have to do is move that pulley around until you can just get the thread started in the housing of this pulley. So you can just get the thread started, because you'll never, I mean, you can't pull that back far enough by your own power because of these belts. So you have to screw or thread that bolt in, and then use a ratchet to pull it back tight. And I recommend that before you move on, so that way at least one point is stable with the belt. Alright, so I went ahead and finished dropping the deck down all the way on the ground. And you do that by pulling, you see these, they just pull out. They fit up into the frame right there. So putting them back on is not that big a deal. They're on both sides. That's what holds the back side of your mower deck up into the frame. I did that so that I would have more room to get to the pulley system that is going to accept this new belt. As you can see, I pulled the new belt down underneath, and we'll start working it through.